Hello, friend. I'm Hope, and I'm really glad you're here today. Welcome to English with Hope, a calm space for your mind and your heart. In this channel, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to rush. Here, we learn English slowly. We listen English gently. No pressure, no stress. And here, you are not alone. Wherever you are in the world, I'm right here with you. So relax your shoulders, take a slow breath, and let's begin. Friend, I want to ask you something. I want you to sit with it, really sit with it, before you answer. When you make a mistake, even a small one, what is the first thing you say to yourself? Not out loud, inside, that quiet instant reaction. That flash of a thought, the one that comes before you can stop it. Is it gentle? Is it patient? Is it kind? Or is it something sharper? Something like, I'm so stupid. Or, why do I always do this? Or, I can't get anything right. Take a moment. Just breathe and think. For so many of us, and I include myself in this, that inner voice is not kind. It is not the voice of a good friend. It is not the voice of someone who believes in us. It is demanding. It is impatient. It is often cruel. And the strange thing, we don't even notice it anymore because it has been there for so long. That voice is like background noise, like the sound of the city you live in. When you first arrive somewhere new, you hear everything: the traffic, the horns, the distant music from an open window. But after a while, you stop hearing it. It becomes the sound of normal. And that is exactly what happens with our inner voice. It becomes normal. We stop realizing it's there. We stop questioning what it says. We just absorb it. We live inside it. We begin to believe it, and slowly, without even knowing it, we start treating ourselves the way that voice treats us. We hold back, we shrink, we push ourselves past exhaustion because the voice says we haven't done enough. We lie awake at night, replaying old conversations because the voice says we said the wrong thing. We stand in front of the mirror, and we see only what is missing. All of this, all of it, starts with the words we say to ourselves in the quiet spaces of our minds. That is what today is about. Self-talk. The words you whisper to yourself when no one is listening. The language that runs underneath your days, like a quiet current beneath still water. This story you are constantly telling yourself about who you are. Because here is what I have come to understand after a lot of stumbling and learning and sitting with my own difficult thoughts. The way we talk to ourselves is one of the most important things in our lives. More important than what other people say about us. More powerful than any single event or circumstance. Because that voice never stops. It is there when you wake up. It is there during meetings, during meals, during that quiet minute between tasks. It is there when you fall asleep. And if that voice is unkind, if it constantly finds fault, if it constantly reminds you of your failures, if it measures you against some impossible standard, then no matter what you achieve on the outside, something inside you will always feel like it isn't enough. But here is the hope, the real hope. That voice is not fixed, it is not permanent, it is not the truth, it is a habit. And habits can be changed, not overnight, not easily, but slowly, gently. With patience and practice, that voice can soften. It can become something that feels less like a critic and more like a companion. Today, I want to walk that road with you. Are you ready? Let's go. I want to tell you a story. It is not my story exactly, but parts of it feel very close to home. And I think parts of it might feel close to yours too. Her name was May. May was 31 years old. She lived in a city she had moved to for work. She had a good job, a small apartment she had decorated carefully, plants by the window, books she kept meaning to read. From the outside, her life looked together. But May had a secret. Not the kind of secret you tell someone at 2 in the morning. It was quieter than that. It was the voice. May had lived with that voice her whole life. She had just never thought of it as something separate from herself. She thought it was her. The voice that said, "You're behind," when she opened her work email in the morning. The voice that said everyone noticed when she stumbled over her words in a meeting. The voice that said, "You should be further along by now," when she saw a friend's success on her phone. That voice, she thought it was just thinking. She thought it was what it meant to be her. There was one afternoon, a Tuesday. She told me later that the specific day still mattered to her. She sat down to eat lunch alone at her desk. She had a bowl of noodles she had made that morning. She opened a book, and for one small, quiet moment, she felt okay. And then the voice started, "You shouldn't be eating at your desk. You look lonely. You should be using this time more productively. Why are you reading that? You never finish anything you start." She put the book down. She pushed the noodles aside. She opened her laptop instead. And later that evening, on the bus ride home, she sat by the window. She watched the city moving outside. And she realized something. She had not enjoyed a single moment of that lunch. Not the food, not the quiet, not the book. She had sat there and been eaten alive by her own thoughts. And suddenly, she felt it, like a cold wave of recognition. This is what it's always like, not sometimes, not occasionally, always. Every meal, every rest, every quiet moment. The voice was there, picking, pushing, judging, and she had never once questioned it. She had never once said, "Wait, is this voice right? Is this really how I deserve to be spoken to?" She got off at her stop. She walked to her apartment. She sat on the edge of her bed in the dark for a long time, and then she did something small. She picked up her journal, a notebook she had barely written in. She opened it to an empty page. She wrote one question at the top. Would I say these things to someone I love? And then she sat very still, because the answer came quickly, and it was devastating, in the gentlest way. No. She would never say those things to someone she loved. She would never look at a friend eating lunch alone and say, "You look lonely, you're wasting time." She would never tell a friend who stumbled in a meeting, "Everyone noticed, you embarrassed yourself." She would never look at someone she cared about and say, "You should be further along by now." She would say, "You're doing fine. That was a hard day. Rest. I'm proud of you for still trying." So why was she saying the other things to herself? That was the question that changed May. Not immediately, not in a single flash of transformation. Healing is never like that. It's more like the way winter becomes spring. You don't notice the exact moment the air changes. But one morning, you walk outside, and something is different. Something is warmer. For May, that evening was the beginning of a new season. She didn't fix her inner voice overnight. She didn't wake up the next morning suddenly feeling worthy. But she started to notice. She started catching the voice mid-sentence. She started asking, is this true? Or is this fear? She started very slowly and very imperfectly to talk back, not with aggression, not with forced positivity, with something quieter, something that sounded like, I see you're worried, but I am going to be okay. And slowly, so slowly, the air began to change. May's story isn't finished. None of our stories are. But she is in a warmer season now, and that is enough. That is more than enough. I share May's story because I think many of us are on that bus. Looking out the window, living inside a voice that has never once been questioned. And maybe, just maybe, today is the day you write that first question in your own journal. Would I say these things to someone I love? Let that sit with you. Let's keep going. Now I want to share 3 things, 3 insights that have genuinely shifted something in me. And I want to be honest with you. I am not standing above you looking down at these lessons. I am sitting right beside you, still learning, still practicing, still having days when that voice is louder than I'd like. But these 3 things, they have helped me, and I want them to help you too. The first thing I want you to remember, your inner critic is not your enemy. It is a frightened part of you trying to keep you safe. I know that can be hard to believe. How can something so unkind be trying to help? But stay with me for a moment. Think about how that voice developed. You were not born with it. No child comes into the world telling themselves they're not good enough. Children fall down, they laugh. They get up and try again. They draw messy pictures and show them proudly. They sing without worrying if their voice is perfect. So something happened. Maybe when you were young, love felt conditional sometimes. Maybe you learned that mistakes had real consequences. Maybe someone important in your life was very hard to please, and so you learned to be hard on yourself first. Or maybe you just grew up in a world that constantly measured people, performance, grades, appearance, achievement, and your mind, trying to protect you, built a system, a kind of defense. If I criticize myself before anyone else can, the criticism won't hurt as much when it comes from outside. If I hold myself to an impossible standard, I'll always be striving, and I'll never be blindsided by failure. If I stay vigilant, if I keep watching myself closely, nothing will catch me off guard. Do you see what the voice was trying to do? It was trying to protect you. In its clumsy, painful, exhausting way, it was trying to love you. I remember the first time I truly understood this. I was sitting quietly one evening, just thinking, and the critical voice started. That familiar catalog, everything I hadn't done, everything I should have done differently, everything I still needed to fix. And instead of arguing with it or feeling ashamed of it, I had one quiet thought. This voice is terrified. Not mean, not right, not wise, terrified. And something in me softened. Because I know what it feels like to be terrified. And when I am terrified, I don't need someone to argue with me. I need someone to sit with me, to breathe with me, to say, I know, it feels scary, but you are safe. So I started offering that to myself. Not immediately, not perfectly, but as a practice. When the voice rises now, I try to pause, and instead of shut up, I hear you, but we are okay. It sounds small, but it changes something. The next time your inner critic speaks, don't fight it. Place one hand on your heart, take one slow breath, and say quietly, "Thank you for trying to keep me safe. I've got this now." Just once, see what it feels like. The second thing I want you to remember: you can't think your way out of negative self-talk. You have to feel your way through it. This one surprised me because I like to think, I like reasoning, I like logic. And for a long time, I believed that if I argued with the negative thoughts enough, if I gathered enough evidence against them, they would stop. So I tried that. When the voice said, "You're not good enough," I would say, "That's not true. Look at this, and this, and this." And sometimes it helped, for a little while. But the feeling never really left. It just went underground, and then it came back later, stronger. Because here is what I eventually understood. Negative self-talk doesn't only live in the mind, it lives in the body. When you tell yourself, "I'm a failure," where do you feel it? In the chest, maybe. That tight, heavy sensation in the shoulders. The way they curl forward, like your body is trying to protect your heart. In your breathing, shorter, shallower, quicker. The thought and the feeling are connected. They arrived together, and addressing only the thought doesn't release the feeling that the thought left in your body. So what helps? Acknowledging the feeling, actually acknowledging it. Not "stop feeling this," not "think positive," not "you have no reason to feel this way," but "I feel this. Right now, in this moment, I feel this, and that is okay." There is a real difference between a thought and a feeling. A thought says, "I am a failure." A feeling says, "I feel scared that I am failing." One is a verdict, the other is an experience. And experiences, even the most painful ones, they move, they shift, they pass. They always pass. I used to be so afraid. I thought if I let myself feel the full weight of something difficult, I would collapse under it, that it would swallow me whole. But I've learned the opposite is true. The feelings I pushed away stayed the longest. They hardened. They calcified. The feelings I said, "Okay, I feel you" to, passed more quickly, not instantly, not without discomfort. But they passed. Like a storm that clears more quickly when you open the window, instead of bolting the shutters closed. When a harsh thought arrives, don't fight it. Place your hand on your chest. Feel the warmth of your own touch. And say, "I feel this. But I am more than this feeling. And I am safe." Your hand, your warmth, your own presence. Sometimes that is all you need to get through the next few minutes. And sometimes the next few minutes is all you need to get through. The third thing I want you to remember: the words you repeat to yourself become the world you live in. Let me tell you about something small. There is a kind of tree called a bonsai. A bonsai can live for hundreds of years. It can survive harsh conditions. At its core, it is a full and living tree. But the shape it takes, the way it grows, depends entirely on how it is tended, where it is placed, how it is shaped, day after day, season after season. The tree does not choose its shape. The shape is created by patient, consistent attention over a very long time. I think the mind is a little like that. The thoughts we tend to most, the ones we repeat, the ones we return to again and again, those thoughts grow. They shape the landscape of our inner world. They become the architecture of how we see ourselves. And most of us have been tending to the same critical thoughts for years, decades even. Not smart enough, not stiffened enough, not disciplined enough, not there yet. We have watered those thoughts so carefully, so consistently, that they have grown tall and strong and deeply rooted, and they feel like the truth. But they are not the truth. They are the result of repetition, and here is the quietly revolutionary idea: if repetition created them, repetition can reshape them. Not quickly, not without effort, not without days when the old thoughts feel louder than ever, but slowly, with patience, with consistency, you can begin to tend different thoughts, not fake thoughts, not forced positivity, not telling yourself everything is perfect when it isn't. Just a slightly kinder framing. Instead of, I'm so far behind, maybe I am exactly where I am, and I am moving. Instead of, I always mess things up, maybe I made a mistake. That is part of learning. Instead of, nobody cares about me, maybe I feel alone right now, and I am still someone worth caring for. Small shifts, small seeds, one a day, just one. You don't have to believe it completely when you say it. The belief comes later. First comes the practice, then comes the feeling, then comes the belief. I used to think I had to feel something before I could say it. But I've learned it often works the other way around. You say it quietly, to yourself, in the dark, and then slowly, something in your body begins to follow. Tonight, before you sleep, write down one sentence, one kind, honest sentence about yourself. It doesn't have to be grand. It can be as simple as, today was hard, and I kept going. Or, I tried, and that matters. Or just, I am learning. And that is enough. Write it. Say it out loud if you can, even in a whisper. Let your own voice be kind to you, even once, even just tonight. Friend, I want to slow down now. I mean really slow down. Not as a host, not as someone presenting a lesson, just as someone who sees you, someone who wants you to feel less alone in this. Can I speak to you directly for a few minutes? I think you are tired. Not just the kind of tired that sleep fixes, a deeper tired. The tired that comes from holding yourself to a standard that never stops moving. The tired that comes from finishing something and immediately shifting your eyes to the next thing you haven't done yet. The tired that comes from spending years being your own strictest judge. I know that tired. It lives in the chest, doesn't it? Not a sharp pain, more like a weight, a quiet, persistent heaviness that you carry into every room. And the hardest part? Most people can't see it, because from the outside, you look fine. You function, you show up, you smile at the right moments, you answer messages, you get things done. But inside, that voice is running quietly, constantly, like a machine that was never given an off switch. Not enough, not yet, almost, but not quite. And you've been listening to it for so long, measured by it for so long, that it has started to feel like your own voice. But it isn't. I want you to hear that. That voice, the one that says you are falling short, that you should be further along, that everyone else seems to manage this more easily than you do. That voice is not the voice of truth. It is the voice of exhaustion. It is the voice of years of pressure placed on you before you were old enough to question them. It is the voice of fear, wearing the costume of reason. And fear can be so convincing. It speaks with authority. It presents evidence. It sounds logical. It uses your own memories against you. But it is not the whole story. It is never the whole story. Because the voice that tells you what you haven't done never counts what you have done. It never counts the morning you got up when you genuinely didn't want to. It never counts the time you had a hard conversation and stayed honest anyway. It never counts the day you were falling apart on the inside and you still showed up. It never counts the quiet, invisible acts of courage that happen inside you every single day. The things no one sees. The things no one applauds. The things that take more strength than anyone around you will ever know. The voice doesn't count those. But I do, and I want you to start counting them too. You are not behind. I know it can feel that way. I know there are days when you look at your life and it feels like everyone around you is moving forward, building things, becoming things, and you are somehow standing still. But you are not standing still. You are growing, even on the days when you can't feel it, even on the days when all you did was survive, even on the days when the best you could do was get through to the evening. That is growth. That is strength. That counts. I also want to say something about comparison, because I think it lives underneath so much of this. When we compare our inner world to other people's outer world, we will always lose. We see their highlight. We feel our full story. We see their confident presentation. We feel our private doubt. We see their finished product. We feel our messy middle. And we think, something is wrong with me. Nothing is wrong with you. You are just seeing yourself honestly and comparing that honesty to someone else's surface. That is not a fair comparison. It was never a fair comparison. The person you are comparing yourself to has a messy middle too. They have a private voice too. They have mornings when they look in the mirror and feel like they aren't enough either. We are all struggling with this in our own ways, in our own private spaces. You are not uniquely broken. You are not uniquely behind. You are just human, fully, vulnerably, beautifully human. And here is what I want to leave with you in this quiet part of our time together. You don't have to be fixed to deserve kindness. You don't have to achieve something first. You don't have to become the best version of yourself before you are allowed to rest. You don't have to earn your own compassion. It is already yours. It has always been yours. The gentle voice, the one that says, I see how hard you are trying, and it's okay to not be okay, and you are enough right now, exactly as you are. That voice exists inside you. It's just very quiet because it hasn't had much practice, because it hasn't been given much permission. Today, I want to give it permission. You have permission to speak kindly to yourself. You have permission to take up space. You have permission to be imperfect and still worthy. You have permission to rest without guilt. You have permission to be in progress and still be enough. And on the days when the old voice comes back loud, and it will, sometimes, please, don't blame yourself for that. Don't add another layer of criticism on top. Don't say, I know better now. Why am I still doing this? Just come back. One breath at a time. One kind word at a time. Every single time you return to kindness, after the critical voice has pulled you away, that is a victory. A quiet one, an invisible one, but it counts every time. So we have covered a lot of ground today. We talked about where that critical inner voice comes from, about how it was built in its awkward, well-meaning way to protect you. We talked about how feelings need to be felt, not pushed away, not argued with, just gently acknowledged. We talked about how the words you repeat become the world you live in, and how small, consistent seeds of kindness, planted one day at a time, can slowly change the landscape inside. And we sat together in the quiet, and I spoke to your tiredness. I see it. I really do. And now I want to give you something small, something to carry out of today. Not a list, not a program, not a challenge that requires energy you may not have. Just one thing, something gentle, something doable, something that begins right where you are. Here it is. This week, I want you to begin what I call the one kind witness practice. Here is how it works. At the end of each day, just before you sleep, you take 2 minutes, only 2 minutes. You sit somewhere quiet, or lie in your bed, or stand by the window with a glass of water. It doesn't matter where. And you become a witness to your own day, not a judge, not a reviewer giving yourself a score. A witness. A witness does not evaluate. A witness does not calculate what went wrong. A witness does not add up what you failed to do. A witness simply sees. You ask yourself one question: what did I carry today? Not what you achieved, not what you finished, not what you should have done differently. Just, what did you carry? Maybe you carried a difficult emotion through a long afternoon. Maybe you carried anxiety into a conversation, and you did it anyway. Maybe you carried loneliness, or fatigue, or uncertainty. Maybe you carried hope, quiet and fragile, but still there. You just notice, you just see. And then you say, out loud if you can, even in a whisper, one sentence: I see what you carried today, and you carried it well. Even if the day was hard, even if nothing felt right, even if you are not sure you carried it well at all. Say it anyway, because this practice is not about being accurate. This practice is about building a muscle, the muscle of self-compassion. And like any muscle, it grows with repetition, not with perfection, not with intensity, just with consistent, gentle practice. You might forget some days. That is completely fine. This is not something to judge yourself for. If you miss a day, you just begin again. No penalty, no failure, just begin again. One evening, 2 minutes. One kind sentence. I see what you carried today, and you carried it well. That is enough. That is genuinely, truly enough. And I promise you, if you practice this even 3 or 4 times this week, something will begin to shift. It will be subtle at first, like the first breath of spring in the middle of winter. You might almost miss it. But it will be there, a small softening, a small warmth, your own voice, being kind, and that changes everything. Before we say goodbye today, I want to leave you with something to carry, something you can come back to on the hard days, on the days when the voice gets loud again, on the days when you feel like you are not enough. Breathe in slowly and let these words settle inside you. I am not my worst thought. I am not defined by my hardest day. I am allowed to be imperfect and still deeply worthy. The kindness I give so freely to others, I am allowed to give that to myself. You don't have to believe those words completely yet. You just have to let them in. That is how it works. Not all at once. A little at a time. Day by day. Friend, thank you. Thank you for being here today. For giving this time to yourself. For choosing, in the middle of your busy life, to sit with me. That choice matters. It really does. The kind of work we talked about today. The quiet, internal work of changing how you speak to yourself. It is some of the bravest work a person can do, because no one sees it. No one applauds it. There is no certificate, no milestone, no moment where someone says, "Well done," from the outside. It happens in the small, private, invisible moments of your life, in the space between a thought and a response, in the 2 minutes before you sleep, in the hand you place on your own chest when the voice gets unkind. But it matters. It shapes everything. And remember, your story isn't over. It's just changing chapters. And if this episode gave you something useful today, something you felt, something that made you pause, I'd love it if you tapped like and subscribed to the channel. It helps you stay connected, and it also helps this little learning community grow. Every click really does make a difference. Goodbye for now, friend.